Movie buffs, welcome back to the Movie Bay. This is Day, and today we're going to do Underrated Movies number 9. So, without further ado, let's dive in and take a look at 10 underrated movies number 9. Starting with a movie that I really liked it. It wasn't the best movie, but it's a good movie. When you watch this movie, it's going to almost remind you a little bit of, you know what's going to pop into your head when you watch this movie? The Continental from John Wick, the Hotel, the Continental. It works almost the same way. In this movie, you got Jodie Foster, Sterling K. Brown, Sophia Boutella, Jeff Goldblum, Brian Tyree Henry, Jenny Slate, Zachary Quinto, Charles Day, Dave Bautista. A banging cast for a banging movie. We got Hotel Artemis. So Hotel Artemis is basically, it almost operates like the Continental from John Wick. It's a safe haven for criminals, but it's like a hotel / hospital where they do very, very sophisticated high-end surgeries. They use nanotechnology. They use 3D printers to print different organs, and it's fantastic. So Zachary K. Brown and his brother, they are injured in the beginning of the movie. They got into a shootout with cops outside of a bank that they just robbed. They make it over to, they both are members. You got to have a chip in your wrist, and they are both members of the Artemis. So they went there, and the whole movie pretty much took place in the hotel. Dave Bautista and Jodie Foster, they're like the main two staff at the Artemis. Jodie Foster is the actual resident doctor there, and Dave Bautista is like her assistant. It's a fantastic movie, good action. I really liked it. Jeff Goldblum only had he came in like the third act of the movie. Zachary Quinto came in like maybe halfway through. It's a good movie. It's fantastic. So like I said, when you watch this movie, the first thing that's going to pop into your head is the Continental, because there's rules. You can't kill in there, and it's good. It's fantastic. Now, they don't have the same level of consequence that they have at the Continental, where if you break the rules of the Continental, you're asked to be excommunicated or killed. So they don't have nothing like that. I do believe here you will be kicked out if you break the rules, but nobody's going to kill you. Fantastic movie, Hotel Artemis. You need to check this one out. Next up, we got one that I would say is absolutely criminally underrated. This movie is, I can't say how underrated this movie is. And this is, you got Ethan Hawke, Willem Dafoe, Isabel Lucas, and Sam Neill. It's called Daybreakers. This joint right here. So this one is about basically vampires, but this is different. Vampires is running shit. They running it. They run the yard. They run all the big companies, the businesses. They are the main ones. And you got Sam Neill is like the head of a corporation, and they're trying to come up with, the humans are running out. The humans is a viable food source, is running low. So they're trying to come up with different ways, like synthetic bloods and things like that, to sustain them, because eventually there's not going to be no people left. So they're going to have to figure out other things, or any warm-blooded creatures left. So they're going to have to come up with other ways to sustain themselves. Ethan Hawke is a guy who works for the company, but he has a conscience about killing humans. He doesn't like it. And he teams up with Willem Dafoe, who's like a leader of the resistance. It's a fantastic movie. It's very violent, very gory, and it's just an underrated vampire movie. This is a very different vampire movie. I loved it. And the first time I saw it, I never heard of it. I just picked it up on a whim. And it is a banger. I need you to check this one out too. Daybreakers. Good vampire movie. Here's one. This is another one that I don't think this one is as underrated as Daybreakers, so I'm not going to call it criminally underrated. But this is an underrated movie, and it's a banging movie. And you got Jennifer Lawrence and John Hawkes, Winter Bones. This is a fantastic thriller. I'm telling you, listen, if you've never seen Winter's Bones or heard of Winter's Bones, you need to go ahead and check this one out. Jennifer Lawrence, this is an older movie. She's a little younger in this one. And John Hawkes is just amazing in anything he's in. Now, as far as actors go, John Hawkes is criminally underrated. Definitely. This movie isn't criminally underrated, but John Hawkes is. This is a good movie. Winter's Bones. Next up, this is a movie that is, again, underrated. You got Gerard Butler, Gary Oldman, Common, fantastic movie. You got Hunter Killer. Great movie. If you like military movies, submarine battles, there's some really good submarine fights deep under the water. This is a good movie. I'm telling you right now. Hunter Killer, I remember the first time I saw this one, I was like really taken back by it. This is a banger. Trust me. I didn't really know much about that one until I actually saw it online and I picked it up. It was a blind buy, and I'm glad I'm glad I picked it up. Next up, now this is a horror movie, and it's a pretty decent horror movie. I'm not going to call it. I am going to call this underrated. I'm not going to call it criminally underrated because, although it's a good movie, I can see why some people probably never heard of it. It's a Sam Raimi movie. I really do like a lot of the Sam Raimi stuff. I like way more Sam Raimi stuff than I don't like. I can only think of a couple of things from him that I'm lukewarm on. I actually like this one, and it's called The Unholy. The Unholy is a really good movie. You got Jeffrey Dean Morgan in here, so that was an automatic pickup for me. I do like Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I particularly like him as Negan in The Walking Dead, but a lot of his movie appearances, they're pretty good too. I just like Jeffrey Dean Morgan as an actor. He won me over with his portrayal of Negan in The Walking Dead. So what you got here is a young lady who is, she's possessed by this demon that's playing itself off as something religious, something good, but it's not good. And you need to check this one out. Some of the effects in here is a little cheesy, like the fire effects. You can tell it's really cheesy, but it's got some jump scary moments, and it's got some moments that make the hairs rise up on you. It's a solid movie, and I think it's underrated. I don't think a lot of people know a lot about this one. It's called The Unholy. Next up is one that I just picked up. This was in my last pickup video. And I think this movie is not criminally underrated, but it's definitely underrated. Cicely Tyson and Paul Winfield and King. Like I said in the pickup video, this is the absolute definitive version. I understand Boycott. I understand Selma. Boycott was pretty decent. Selma was pretty decent. But again, like I said, if you want to see the very best screen adaptation of a Martin Luther King movie, this is it. There's nothing better. I'm letting you know right now. Paul Winfield's performance blows everybody else's performance out. David Aiello's performance as Martin Luther King, it was decent. I'm not going to take nothing. I'm not going to knock that performance. It was a pretty good performance. And Jeffrey Wright, he did a pretty good job too. But when you watch Paul Winfield as Martin Luther King, I'm here to tell you, you got Howard Rollins in here, Cicely Tyson. You had a solid cast in here. This movie is a banger. And it's an older movie, so it feels a little bit more authentic than the other two. Next up, now this one right here, I'm going to do this one last because we're going to have to go into I'm going to do like a minute review on this one. So we're going to move that one to last. But anyway, we got The Manglehorn with Al Pacino. This is a really good rom-com, so to speak. And Al Pacino is just so versatile. And it's, I'm not going to say it's a shame, but it's almost a shame that he's got a full body of work, so there's no reason to really think of him this way. But when you say Al Pacino, the first thing that pop into people, and I know there's a lot of actors who are familiar, who are like really associated with that one like killer performance, but it's like Al Pacino, people only think about Scarface and Heat. There's so many other movies that Al Pacino just did just great work in. But I get it though. Scarface is probably the number one. That's the first movie that popped in your head when you think about Pacino. But Pacino got a lot of fantastic stuff out there. And The Manglehorn is a great movie. It's a rom-com. I wouldn't call it really a rom-com. It's got a little bit of rom-com to it, but it's got some seriousness to it too. It's a good movie. You'll like this one. It's called The Manglehorn. Next up is an underrated movie because when you think about this movie ties in with two others that I would call like destruction of the earth type movies. You got Deep Impact and Armageddon. And people really take a dump on this one. And I don't know why. It's good. I actually prefer this one. Well, I'm not going to say I prefer it to Deep Impact, but I think it's just as good as Deep Impact. And that's The Core. The Core don't really get a lot of love. Now, The Core did just have a 4K release. I actually picked it up. We'll be looking at that for the pickup video that's coming up in a couple weeks. Remember, I do those monthly now. So I got the 4K pickup of The Core. The Core is a great movie. I liked it so much that when the 4K came out, I decided to upgrade this here DVD to the 4K. You'll see that in a couple weeks on the channel. It's a great movie, and I'm not sure why it didn't get the love. The cast in here was pretty decent. You got Delroy Lindo, Aaron Eckhart, and a host of Hilary Swank, and a solid cast. There's a lot of people in here. I like the ideal of this movie, where the other two movies was involved in saving the earth from above. This one is saving the earth from below. So that's unique. I like that because it was different than the other two. I like the technology that they used, the ship called Virgil. I like how it used that shell. It was called unobtainium. And when you watch the movie, you know why it was called unobtainium. It's just a really solid movie. I dug it. Next up, we got one. Now, the reason why this one is underrated is because this one came out either a year before or a year after Tombstone. And this is Kevin Costner, Dennis Quaid, and Gene Hackman in Wyatt Earp. Now, there's always going to be a debate between Wyatt Earp and Tombstone. Which one is the better movie? Okay, let's see if we can answer this. Wyatt Earp is the more accurate movie, I do believe. It's the more accurate movie. It's got a more serious tone. Not to say Tombstone didn't, but Tombstone is more of the Hollywood production. It's got a little bit, it's just, the pacing is a lot faster in Tombstone. Val Kilmer, again, like I said before, Val Kilmer basically gave the win to Tombstone over Wyatt Earp. If not for Val Kilmer's portrayal of Doc Holliday, I do believe Wyatt Earp would have been the better movie. Now, far as movies go, actual movie, I do believe Wyatt Earp might be the better, more accurate movie of the two, but Tombstone is just a better, more entertaining movie. Both are about, famous Kansas City lawman Wyatt Earp, but Tombstone it came, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it came out sooner and it won the audience. It really did. So that's my take on Wyatt Earp. But Wyatt Earp is very underrated because when you think of like Wyatt Earp movies, people go straight to Tombstone, and Wyatt Earp is a banger. And remember, they only a year apart, so they're kind of close when they came out. And I think that might have hurt. I think this came out a year later, so that might have hurt this one because Tombstone was the better movie, far as like Hollywood standards go, was the better movie. And I think it hurt Wyatt Earp when it came out a year later. Now, here we go. Here's the last one. This movie right here. Listen, we're going to talk about this one. You got Guy Pearce, Dakota Fanning, Emily Jones, Karis Von Houten, and Kit Harington. And Retribution is coming. Brimstone. Yo, listen. All right, let's talk. This movie right here, Guy Pearce is his character is called the Reverend. And he's like, they got these, like, them super religious zealots who are like, they take religion and they twist it to fit whatever is going on and they twist it here. He's one of them. And he wants a relationship with his own daughter. He abuses his wife. He wants to have relations with his daughter. He's an overall twisted man. So this movie takes place over, I do believe it's 4 to 5 chapters. And they got them in different order. So the first chapter, like they got the movie is broken down in different. So it'll start off with the Dakota Fanning character. She's a grown woman with a husband and she has a little girl. And then she's a mute. You'll see that she can't talk. But you'll find out later why that happened. I don't want to give this storyline away because I want you to see this one. This movie is a banger. This movie is a movie that we all in the BlueTube community should be talking about. This movie is absolutely, it's crazy. It's entertaining. It's just a wild ass movie. You need to check this one out. It's called Brimstone. The way they put this movie together, my hat is off to them. They did it. Guy Pearce, and again, as far as actors go, I'm not gonna say Guy Pearce is, fuck that. He's criminally underrated. Guy Pearce don't get the roses he deserves. This dude, talent level, is off the charts. I love everything he's in. He does asshole very well in front of the camera. He can play an asshole role like no other. Man, we just talked about Guy Pearce in The Count of Monte Cristo. Guy Pearce is the dude. You got to check this one out. So let's recap real quick. So we got Hotel Artemis. We got Daybreakers. This is a criminally underrated movie, seriously. We got Winter's Bones. Winter's Bones. I was sounding like I was saying winter. Winter. Hunter Killer. The Unholy. King. I'm very passionate about this movie. This is a banger. Trust me when I tell you. The Manglehorn. The Core. Wyatt Earp. And Brimstone. Now, the question is going to be, and I think you guys know on this one, because I think I kind of spilled the beans on this one. Which one, I want you to see all of these. That's my normal disclaimer. I want you to see all of these. But which one do I want you to see first? I want you to go get a copy of Brimstone. I don't want you to stream this. I want you to go buy, whether it be used or new. I got this on Groove. It was very reasonably priced. Go buy a copy of Brimstone. Go buy a copy of Brimstone. It will be money well spent. You're going to get this movie. You're going to watch this movie. You're going to come back to the comic section and say, D, I got this movie on your recommendation and I loved it. Get Brimstone. Get it now. Click off this video. Go to groove.com, Amazon, wherever you get your movies from, and get Brimstone. It's an absolute fucking banger. Well, that's 10 underrated movies. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.